Welcome back. It's another Rob and Eritrea show. I've had a lot of busy stuff going on in my life with this move. We're in a new place. We have done a lot of recreation, and that's taken me a little bit away from diabetics doing things. But we've also announced our first event, which at the time of publishing will be happening very soon, April 15th. We're going to continue to do more events, so be on the lookout for that. So the last episode was Rob and Eritrea show March, which I really enjoyed. I even listened to driving in the car. I thought it was really great, and a lot of people had really good notes on. And here we're back again for April for Rob and Eritrea Part 2, and we have some awesome guests that we've booked and we have not yet recorded interviews on. So I'm very excited for this next crop of guests on the pod. So more content coming to you soon, and I'm excited. So how are you?
Time is flying. I feel like we just recorded March, and today is April 5th, so things are just zooming along, and I can't believe we're in a new place. I know you kind of skipped over the moving here, but we recorded episodes at the other office, and now we're recording here, so it's just a new setup, new vibes.
Yeah.
Changes coming. I don't know. A new era for Rob.
Agreed. I think I'm weird about spatial relationships. Even ever since I was little, like when I go to school, I do school. When I'm at home, I go to sleep. Like it's just like, and when I'm at work, I need a place that I can be really creative. And I love that other office. It was so cool and unique, but it just wasn't big enough. And it was kind of quirky and weird in the end. I think, the novelty had worn off on me, but a shout out Cadiz. It was a solid office. And we did a lot of episodes there even before, during the pandemic. That was kind of our spot to meet up. So good times, good times.
So we've been home. And you've been evolving, right? So I haven't gone anywhere. When you say, how have you been? It's just like, I feel like every time we record a Rob and Eritrea show-esque thing, it's like I've been jet setting, but keeping with my promise, I have been home.
Chilling. Yeah, you were tired. You're gassed in that last episode.
Oh, man. Yeah, I was over it. I just come back from being overseas, and so I feel a lot better now. I'm refreshed. I don't look as crazy. I feel like my curls are curling. They look good. So things are good. Yeah.
And it's Ramadan.
It is.
At the time of recording. So you've talked at length, not only on this podcast over the years, but also elsewhere in publications about your Ramadan practice. You are not fasting.
No.
And that's not new. Obviously, that's part of your practice. But how has Ramadan been for your diabetes? Everything good?
Some stuff has happened, so we'll talk about it more on the episode. But with Ramadan-wise, so I told you a little bit last time, but my dad's not in town because he's in Egypt, and I'm not married anymore. So I live by myself, and I just do whatever I want, which is not good. Not good. I'm not on my pious, deity-focused Ramadan vibe. I don't know why, but I've just been sleeping in and kind of being just bump on a log, not really, engaging. So I did decorate my house for the holidays. I did have an iftar meal with my family, but it's just not the same, I think, without my dad. So, and that's, posed some interesting questions in my head, like what my future in life will be like. But yeah, so I need to kind of get on it because, I always say this, but I am a Muslim, but I am not the face of Islam. I have my own relationship with my creator. So for those of you who are practicing Ramadan and observing and doing everything right, good for you, man. Pray for me and my eternal soul because I'm not doing so well right now.
I think it's interesting, though, part of Ramadan is reflection. And so you're doing that very much in practice and very much acknowledging the changes in your life. So maybe a little grace for yourself there.
All is good. Not too much, not being too hard on myself. I did learn something new about Ramadan and diabetes yesterday, actually. So I was reading a Reddit thread, and it said that, did you know, blood and the flow of blood breaks your absolution, which breaks your fasting. So that's why people who have diabetes, if your blood flows, if you prick your finger and there's actual flow, that breaks your fast. I didn't know. 20 years on this planet, no idea. But anyways, I learned something yesterday. So.
Interesting.
Just also goes to show you just learn shit. Learn stuff every day. So.
I hope somebody listens to this and can explain.
For our 1% followers who are observing Ramadan.
Well, very cool. So where are we going? Where are we starting today?
We've been home for a bit, and in the last couple of weeks, actually yesterday and even maybe this morning, there's been a ton of thunderstorms, lightning, bad stuff going on. Tornado watches all over the nation, I've noticed.
Eric and I have been talking about it in Dallas. Is that every day is just gray. We call them 7:30 days, where every day looks like 7:30 a.m.
Okay.
Start to finish, it never the sun never comes out. It's always cloudy, and that really just dampens both of our moods. I think we're just children of the sun. So we when it's when the sun's not coming out at our house in the morning, we're both like in the like SpongeBob when he like doesn't have
when he's
water.
dried out.
Yeah, we're just like that's how we feel.
We're just
So-
Texans, man. But like, basically, so there was a tornado a couple weeks ago, and one of them hit down close to my house, and my whole fence was like leveled out. And it just got me thinking. Also on the news, a lot of people have been seeing tornadoes, and it's like kind of seems like national disasters are in the ethos. And I just want to make sure people with diabetes are prepared and are staying prepared. So that's kind of why I wanted to.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I think there's a couple of really good articles. I'm sure Diatribe has one. Like Beyond Type 1 did one a few years ago after like Hurricane Irene in Houston, and was like really, there was a big coalition of like online folks who were rounding up insulin and driving it down. And yeah, I remember that really, the natural disasters and diabetes like conversation was also top of mind at the time. So,
I mean, it's April showers, right? So I think the main takeaway here is for people with diabetes, if you have diabetes or you love someone with diabetes, you take care of someone with diabetes, have a go bag. We were talking about this earlier, but like staying prepared is just paramount when you live with type 1, type 2, or any type of diabetes. So you need to have a go bag right now. It's April showers. Anything could happen. You could run out of electricity. Diatribe does have articles, natural disaster strategies for people with diabetes. Check it out. One of the main ones on there is to keep your devices charged. Like I'm someone who runs around with low battery. I think I have 10% on my pump right now. But if you are at home, like make sure you're charging your devices, because what if you lose power, and that could be a bad situation.
Yeah, my pumps don't charge. My pumps are on batteries. So,
ooh, fancy.
I always have to keep extra batteries as part of my diabetes, even when I travel. Like, there's been times where I had everything that I needed on the trip except for the battery. And it's like a battery really has nothing to do with diabetes. You can go into any convenience store and get one pretty easily. But in the middle of the night in a hotel, it's not always so simple. So.
Do you have like a emergency kit? Like, I don't know. I'm not the most prepared person, but I feel like you would. If all the people I know in my life, Mr. Rob is prepared. Like, am I putting you on the spot?
I don't have a go bag. It doesn't mean that I haven't thought about it.
Okay. I'm planning to come to your house if there's an apocalypse, Rob. I need you to have a plan.
Yeah. I mean, that's a smart plan for you, honestly. I do have like a note on Notion, which is this program and like software I use. I have like an entire like step-by-step process of what I need to do to my house to make it apocalypse ready. And there's a car and there's a bag.
Okay.
But my diabetes travel bag is ready to go at a moment's notice, and I have it like kind of on my little shelf in my office. So it's not like I'm totally unprepared. But I also don't have like a bag that's just on ice ready to roll.
Yeah, no, I'm not the most prepared person, but once I like wrote these questions and thought about it some more, I did make myself like a little lunchbox in the fridge that I could just like grab that has like extra cables. I don't know if it's bad to refrigerate those, but like the bottles and everything else that you could need.
I got it from so my recent prepping, like, there's a fine line between being prepared and being a doomsday prepper.
Yeah, I was wondering what if you were.
There's a fine line between like just being ready to go and like having stuff, and like, you've got an axe wrapped up in a duffel bag with a sleeping bag and like distilled water in your garage and stuff, right? So I watched The Last of Us, which I think a lot of people did.
Okay.
And the third episode is this beautiful episode where the guy who plays Ron Swanson, his name escapes me right now, Nick Offerman, and then the guy from White Lotus season 1 are like lovers during this like post-apocalyptic
The hotel
world.
guy?
The hotel guy.
Okay,
The guy that plays, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
The
Anyway,
main hotel guy. Okay.
Armand. Thank you. Erica's here with us today.
Yes.
Armand in the White Lotus. So they meet, like he traps him in a pit. And so the Nick Offerman character is in this town, and he has like a shelter, and he starts the natural gas. He has a natural gas generator, and he's like living his best life, like basically alone at his house, totally secure during the apocalypse.
Okay.
And I was just watching this, and I was like, man, like if the apocalypse happened tomorrow, I'm dead. Like, I like my chances for the most part as a survival person.
Yeah.
And I want to be confident, but there's some things I'm just not ready for. And there's a lot of things in the house. Like I don't have a crawl space shelter. I don't have any of that stuff. And I'm not saying that I need one. So then it like started this like thing of like, okay, well, what things should I have to be prepared? Because it came back to the 2021 ice storm.
Yeah, that's what I was
as
thinking
well.
about.
And I never felt more helpless and more insignificant than that weekend or in that week. So again, talking with Erica about it and trying to figure out like, okay, well, what are the things that would really help make our lives much easier or much less stressful in the event of a grid shutdown or in the event of something bad happening.
Yeah.
And so I have a short list of that stuff, but I don't also, haven't gone to to like Outdoor World or
Bass Pro
Bass
Shop.
Pro Shops and like load it up on stuff or put it on a credit card or anything like that. So yeah, it's a fine line, but I'm working my way there, and I'm sure some people will be like, yeah, it'll resonate with some folks.
Yeah, just stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and stay safe is my main thing. Is like I'm just thinking about the people who, I don't know, like crazy stuff happens every day. There's awful things that are happening in the world. So make your little bag. Doesn't have to be a box from Home Depot or Bass Pro Shop, but just like a little insulin bag, something with some stuff so you can run if you have to run for at least a day.
The things that we always talk about, and it's been a popular discussion topic in the diabetes community every now and then, of like, what do you do? What's your apocalypse plan? Like in the event of a zombie apocalypse.
Well, you told me
what
that there's like a recipe for insulin. At first I was like, I'm a goner. I was like resolved to die. But now, Rob, you've given me hope for life. So I'm just going to come to your crib.
There's this amazing story about these folks who immigrated from Germany and fled Germany, I guess, refugees from Germany in World War II, who went to China and were working in this like basement laboratory and made their own insulin. So it had already been discovered. It had been around like 20 years, but they basically built a formulary to make it for themselves. And they used, like, they had their timeline. The insulin that they brought with them was their timeline to get the insulin done.
That's crazy.
And it's really cool. I'm not doing the story justice. Maybe we need to dig deeper.
Yeah, honestly.
When I read about it, it was one of the more inspiring things that I've ever heard. And, I think desperate times call for desperate measures, but sometimes that sparks real meaningful innovation and awesome projects.
Yeah.
So
talking about having what you need and just segueing into this move of yours, I know you did a lot of like moving around as far as like taking boxes back and forth, moving from one side of Dallas to the other side of Dallas. What were the blood sugars like? Moving is so stressful. We both bought a house in the last 2 years, so having to do it again, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, so moving offices is not as bad, knock on wood. It wasn't as bad for me, I guess. It wasn't bad. I'm sure, other people may say it differently, but it wasn't as bad for me as like moving a house, because there's so much like more stuff, and there's less people to help. So it was a team effort, and to me, I didn't have any real blood sugar issues. I had like maybe a severe low, like after like a full day of moving, like during the move itself, like it wasn't that big of a deal.
Okay.
So, but people often say that like cleaning and moving are like the things around the house that really drop their blood sugars low. So I was kind of expecting to have a little bit more of a challenge, but I was pretty solid, honestly. My blood sugar was not great, or my blood sugars were great. Overall, my blood sugars have been kind of mid recently. And so it was funny posting that video, and people were like, oh, you were laughing at me, like my blood sugar being in range when we were checking it on camera.
Yeah.
And that does seem like I'm always perfect, but I am not, I'm not. My sugars are out of range just like other people's. So
you're a normal guy with normal stuff. It is kind of normal to just bottom out at the end of the day after a long day of moving around.
Yeah. Cool. So what's next? Yeah, that was good.
He's like,
I'm on to the next. I'm already past. I'm past the move.
So you're so on to the next. No wonder you're Mr. Dallas Diabetes Celebrity Man. You're getting private screenings.
Oh yeah.
To events now. Like I'm just trying to understand how I can get on your level. Give us so you went to see Air.
I did. I got background information.
Yeah.
I have enough followers where I get to do some cool things like outside of diabetes that I like. And I talk about movies enough and like, whatever lifestyle influencing that I do. And it kind of reminded me that like there is a component of content creating that I do outside of diabetes and have always done. And it's mostly fashion and it's comedy. It's just like being silly. And so I remember right before COVID, the last movie that I saw on one of these previews was Bad Boys for Life. So I took my buddy Moyet and we went and saw it, and I took like dumb photos with the poster and just like had a great time. And then obviously when movies went away during COVID, like these opportunities kind of stopped coming up. And then like the first one that came back was for J-Lo's movie Shotgun Wedding with Josh Duhamel. And it was, first of all, bad, but we watched it at home, so we didn't go to that one. But it just made me kind of like laugh at myself to be like, wow, my level of internet celebrity is streaming J-Lo movie in 2023, exclusive passes to that. So when Air came through, a movie that I really wanted to see, I was psyched. So
Yeah.
I put my Jordans on. Erica and I went to the movie and we had a blast. And the movie was really, really good. Ben Affleck made the best Amazon movie. I think it's the best movie that Amazon has produced. Matt Damon is great. Viola Davis is great. Diabetes GOAT, I think, if we're being totally honest.
Okay.
Viola Davis.
Yeah.
And she plays Michael Jordan's mom in the movie, and she was awesome. There's a scene where her and Matt Damon are just going back and forth, and it's just two people at the top of their craft, like doing their thing. And so I highly recommend you see it. It's a movie about Michael Jordan and about Nike. It's like a Nike propaganda film, so of course you're going to like
Nike propaganda. Now
It's
they're
great.
making movies about millionaires who are like how they got through the struggle of being millionaires.
Right. Well, it was a really cool thing of like the journey of Nike and where they stood at the time, and like Michael Jordan's impact like off the court as well. It's just the guy continues to impress.
I am going to push you a little bit further with this thing. So you are celebrity and celebrity adjacent. Like you've done other stuff. Remember when you did the Express shoot? You had that live with Tan France. You had to talk to Tan France.
I sure
and
did.
Other famous people. You did the live with, or the Beyond Type 1 Spotlights with Victor Garber. How does one do this, Rob? How do you give us the blueprint? Like, do you have an agent?
I don't, but I've thought about it recently of like, because I'm trying to like delegate things that I don't have time for anymore.
Okay.
Like, what would an agent do for me on that side of things? I don't know if that's the move yet, but it's something I've considered. I got to be the host, like I think that's bit where, what I really like to do. And, with those Beyond Type 1 Imagine Spotlights, like, because camps were canceled those 2 years, so they needed to talk to people. And so, yeah, I've gotten to do 2 interviews with Victor Garber. I don't know that he remembered me, honestly.
He's so cool.
Between 2 interviews, he was very cool. And I was trying to make jokes with him about how he's uncredited in the town because he's like such good friends with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner. Like he and Jennifer Garner are like BFFs because they were on, what's the show? What was her big hit, her first big break? It was a TV show on ABC. Anyway, God, now that's going to be, it's one word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they became really good friends. And he actually was the officiant at Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner's wedding.
Crazy.
So he's in the town, but he's uncredited. And I was talking to him about that. And he didn't care.
At all. He thought you were such a nerd.
But we had a good interview. And so, yeah, I've interviewed him twice. I've done a couple interviews with Sam Talbot that, will never be aired. But they were also really cool. The Tan France Express thing, like I actually got like a cold email, just like auditioned for that.
Yeah.
And got it, which was cool. And I like really fit like what they were looking for. And that was a really awesome experience. And so.
Well, the reason I asked you is because right now it seems like every time I turn around, and maybe it's just my algorithm, I don't know other diabetes creators, but it's like how to create content, how to be a UGC creator, how to this, how to that. And so it's like we have the UGC creators sitting right next to us at Diabetics doing things. And like, just ask Rob.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is what I do for my job, right? So like that is like part of the agency life. I do think that it's oversimplified and people are just trying to like get views. And at the same time, like I get a lot of insight from some of those things as well.
Very cool.
But I think what's interesting is like some of those videos are focused on like how to hack the algorithm to get give the algorithm what it wants or give the platform what it wants. And to me, no creator that's, a creator that we know by name started off by trying to hack the algorithm. They started to make something artful and creative that a lot of people would like. Think of somebody like Donald Glover, who's like literal, like the Swiss Army knife of creative talent. Like he's a writer, he's an actor, he's a singer, songwriter, rapper.
Yeah.
He does the whole thing. And it has nothing to do with like hacking the algorithm. He just like, he's an artist, right? So
he's doing something he loves. It makes me think of like Ariana Frere and like her graphics that she really, really enjoys, or Mary Mosier, like some people that don't necessarily get all the spotlight that they should, but they're making the content because they enjoy it. So shout out to you two guys. That's
and I mean, like you look at Ariana like as a super creative person, whether it's like party planning or outfits or like the themes that she and her husband do, like her wedding even. So it's like people are creative in their own ways and in their own lanes, and I think that that's back to the things that I do outside of diabetes, like fashion and comedy,
the things you
love,
love,
being goofy and traveling and all that stuff. Yeah, the stuff that I really like to do. I think that comes out being creative. And obviously cold plunging and, being healthy and being an athlete like that. To me, my framework has always been like, what does an athlete do? Like, endorsement deals with clothes and shoes, traveling and that type of thing, speaking. And that's sort of my life has followed that trajectory. Like above all, I am an athlete. And like, That's just, it's weird. If I go a couple days without training, I just feel weird because like my whole life has been on that rhythm. And
so if I were to go home and write in my journal, Rob Howe said this to be a good content creator, like what is that line? Like what is the Rob Howe advice?
I think you have to be true to what you want to do, because if you become popular for something that you hate, like then you will have to continue to do something that you hate over and over and over again. And I think that's where, you see a lot of content creators talking about their mental health, like depleting. Well, first of all, you're opening yourself up to people who don't know you and will just say whatever they want to you. So if you're not comfortable with that, like I would advise you not to do it. But yeah, do something that you love and like something that you can do for a long time, because like this podcast, this is going to be episode like 227 of this podcast, which is 227 days where we had to schedule something to happen with another person, sometimes in another country. So if you don't love like that aspect of it, you're never going to be successful. Same thing with like sports. I would tell the same thing for somebody who's like, what do I tell my kid who they really like basketball, like, or they really like football or whatever? What do I tell them? I would say, well, if you don't love it, you will never be successful at it, because there's more days that you will hate it, and you will hate the process, and you will hate having to go to practice at 6 a.m. And you'll hate when someone's yelling at you. But if you love the game, if you love the content, if you love the thing you're doing, that is what will power you through on the days where you don't want to show up. And the key is to show up over and over and over and over and over, and you will get better and better and better. I don't even want to listen to my first 20 podcasts, or my next 100 podcasts, but like once you get through it and get better, my first public speaking gig, my first keynote speech in St. Louis in 2018 was nowhere near as good as my most recent one was. And that's because I continued to show up to do it. So I think that's what you have to do as a creator, is continue to show up to the desk, to check in and clock in at robhowecontent.com, Rob Howe Content, Inc., and say, hey, here, I work here today. I'm gonna get a paycheck from this. Maybe not in money for a long time, but I'm going to continue to show up and do the work. And over time, you will get somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll get you, I can't promise you result, but you will learn. And I think Mr. Beast has a quote, and he's an amazing creator, like one of the OG YouTubers. He's like, you want to be famous on YouTube? He's like, okay, cool. Make 100 videos. No one's going to watch them, but something will happen after you've made your 101st. It'll be so much better than your first one.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is really the only measuring stick you can get, is like, did I get better today compared to myself? Because like the comparison culture thing is also really challenging, looking to the left and to the right of, oh, well, I don't have what this person has. Or somebody could listening and say, well, I would love to be a diabetes podcaster because like, look at all this cool stuff that Rob is doing. And back to that 227 episodes, it's like, are you ready to put in? And, also there were some tough times. Like I've multiple times wondered if I wanted to continue doing this. And every time I come back to it, I really love to. So back to the host thing, man, it lights me up to get to be on a meeting invite with Victor Garber. Like that's so sick. I have a chance, like early on in the podcast, I really wanted to, maybe one of the only reasons that I started doing this is because I heard Adam Morrison talk to JJ Redick on his podcast about struggling with diabetes being part of why he wasn't successful in the NBA. And that I wanted to talk to him about that. And, I might have a chance to do that in 6 weeks. So again, like along the journey, you'll be opened up to opportunities that are super cool, but it takes the bricklaying and the interviews with just amazing community members who want to share their story, or trying to come up with ideas for podcasts like we're doing here today, just to get in the rhythm and get in the mode to make it happen. So yeah, remember the live show?
Yeah.
That took like,
the live shows where I got my start.
That's where you got your
start.
start.
That's where I planted my seed.
That was where you were like OG Hype Squad, right?
Yeah.
So like, planning that out there were no sponsors. There was no, like, all it was, 30 people watching it every week.
And we were all stuck at home.
We were, but we had some cool people on it.
Yeah, you did.
We had Sam was the big finish right before he got like canceled out of the diabetes community. But
I mean, it's powerful to hear you say it, because I think that people find your account, they click on it, they're like, oh, this guy's so cool. And I think that you just like, I mean, I'm not saying you were not born cool, but it's just like, he got this following out of nowhere. And it's like, no, like you've worked really hard to get here. And also I think transparency between creators is important. Like I am still growing as a creator. There's so many people who listen to this that are also creators. And that kind of advice is like needed and not openly shared. And sometimes even like it feels like it's being gatekept. And I don't like that.
It's hard, it's people want to hold on to what they have. Something that I learned it was a gift for me, really, listening to a Tim Ferriss podcast episode with Terry Crews. He was talking about in the NFL, his rookie year, Terry Crews' rookie year, he was on the team with some veterans who gave him advice to do the wrong thing.
Oh man.
So they set him up for failure, and he's like, people kept saying, yeah, in the pros it's a doggy dog world. And he's like, so that was part of my mentality. He's like, then I realized like dogs don't eat other dogs.
Damn.
And he's like, so when I came to that, like, there's enough for us all to eat. There's enough people with diabetes to support a ton of diabetes creators. I'm so excited when I meet other diabetes creators because, whatever part of the journey that they're in, or even if they have more notoriety than I do, whatever, like, I'm excited that exists. And I think for all the negative things that social media can bring to people, and myself included, it gives you an opportunity to have a platform and like do what you want to do and to make your art. And, supporting that is something that we are slowly but surely like chopping wood, carrying water to bring to life, so that, Diabetics Doing Things can, be a platform and be a space where somebody who's interested in being a diabetes creator can find and maybe make money from, or have an opportunity to do something from, compared to 10 years ago when, that didn't exist. So yeah, I don't know. This is kind of an interesting, I wasn't really ready to talk about this as much today.
It was on the list, Rob.
But we've talked a lot about it, like done 15 minutes on it now on the pod. But I think if you want to do something and it doesn't exist, that is just a sign to you that it's your time to do it. And
that's like that. If you want to read a book and it doesn't exist, like write it yourself. Who said that? Somebody said that.
Yeah,
somebody very important.
That's a great piece. And like, also back to transparency, we got 8 people registered for an event right now.
Yeah,
we're gonna have 20 max. Like, that's not a ton of people,
right?
But it's a start. And so again, like, when people think like, oh yeah, Rob's doing this thing, it's like mad successful, it's like so cool. It's like, yeah, but I'm just trying to get 8 strangers to show up to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
On some level. So I just want to make it cool.
Yeah.
Like Kendrick said, I got to make it look sexy, just that's the thing. Like, that was the brief for me. I was like, I wanted whatever my diabetes output is to be cool, because so much of diabetes is not cool. So that's what I want to do. And we're getting there.
Absolutely.
I got, just this is the last piece I'll tell you guys. And we'll move on to the next topic, because I want to dig into this basketball thing. It's actually a nice transition, but low key, I'm the host, so that's just what
fine.
What I bring to the table. When I was in college, 2010 was my junior year. 2009, 2010 was my junior year. Gary Forbes was playing for the Nuggets, so he was 50 minutes north, and I was in Colorado Springs. And I read an article in the Denver Post about his diabetes, and I had like watched him play a couple times even without knowing he had diabetes. And I was like, seeing that in 2009, 2010, I was a kid inspired by what he was doing. And now he and I are friends, and he's been on the podcast 3 times. So
shout out Gary.
You never know when, people come into your life for weird reasons. Adam Morrison was the face when I was diagnosed. That same year, he was National Player of the Year, the same year I was diagnosed. And I got to shake his hand, 7 years ago. And that just because of he's friends with one of my best friends. So it's like, you never know when, like, you can meet your heroes. Some people say don't meet your heroes because they can disappoint you. But like, if you don't have the expectation, if you just leave yourself open to maybe something down the road, if I just stay in the game, just stay in the fight, then when the time is right, I can have that success. I can look that person in the eye and say, thank you for what you were able to give me before you even knew this. You made a huge difference in my life. Oh, the light
jump
went
up.
out.
Jump up and down.
There's a motion there's a motion sensor somewhere. I think it's behind that bookshelf. It's fine.
I'm sorry, but so like nobody else can see this, but Rob has a very tiny wife, and she was just jumping in the air trying to get the motion sensor to work, and it was so funny.
There we go. Okay. All right. So,
but this is a perfect segue into another thing that you've been showing up for the last million years of your life, but basketball.
Yeah. It is a good segue.
It was perfect. The lights went out.
I play basketball my whole life. I love it. It's my favorite thing. I still do. I got a inquiry from our website, like a submission form asking about lows after playing basketball, like
after. Okay.
post basketball lows. And so, she's like, hey, like, how can we, and my son is playing basketball and we're having these lows after the game. And I have those too today. So
really,
what I'm here to tell you is that basketball makes your blood sugar go low after. So here's the breakdown. And I sent this to her as well. So at the beginning, you're going to get on the court, and because your heart is racing and you're experiencing stress is not a bad word, but like your body is stressed, your brain is engaged, you're actively out there, your blood sugar goes up because you have the adrenaline and the cortisol and the stress that's setting you up. And also you're exercising so hard that you're like, during that time, it's high intensity over a long period of time. So it's kind of the worst of both, because you're doing the steady state cardio, but at a higher intensity. So you're insulin resistant, you're producing stress and cortisol, and you're having a steady state cardio at a high level. So when you stop, boom, you hit the double arrows down. So I was telling her, the caregiver of the type 1, you're just going to have to, especially when you're small, because when you're smaller, insulin obviously is a bigger dosage because of your body, your mass, your size. So you got to be prepared to be super absorbent. You're going to be super insulin absorbent after a basketball game.
Yeah.
So I was kind of walking through like where the blood sugars I like to start the game with. I like to be like between 130 and 180. I know I'm probably going to go over 200 during the course of the game because that's just how my body works. But once we stop, it's going to come down. And I also told her that I do not get it right all the time. So even like the 2-3 days before she emailed me, I had a really tough, urgent low, like 11 p.m. after a basketball game, because it was just what happens. So being prepared, post-game meal, you got to eat some protein, you got to slow some stuff down, you got to stay hydrated, the whole thing. And, some people like myself, like I don't really love to play or exercise with a lot of insulin on board because there's just a lot of variables.
It gives me anxiety.
Well,
I can't do that. I have to put my pump in exercise mode. I'm like, how much insulin do I have on board?
It's tough because if I go into a game right before I have to, I'm going to ride that adrenaline wave. If I have a bunch of insulin on board, it's not going to be as steep.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be lower. And then afterwards, the crash is going to be hardcore.
You're chasing that low.
Mm-hmm. So, and I, also like your energy has to factor into it and all of that stuff. So yeah, all that to say, basketball is complicated. And, I actually have a reel that I'm going to post very soon after we record this. That kind of walks you through a day, how I get ready for a pickup basketball game for like 2 hours of basketball, and what happens to my blood sugar, and wearing my pump in my Woloco tights and all this stuff close to me. So,
how Rob balls.
Basically, how I go play basketball. So it's something that I do all the time. So.
We're looking forward to that content. I think that'll be helpful to followers who, not just basketball people, but like, it makes me think of soccer. Or like, I don't know, gosh, just any field hockey, just anything that's high endurance, high stress. Makes me think of like, I don't know, like when your dog plays too hard and then after they're all like zoomed out, like laying there, can't breathe, very thirsty. That's what that makes me think of, because it's like they're going, their brain is so engaged. So you're just on the court, brain engaged, in your killer Mamba mode. So after there's that,
Yeah, I mean, it's just a natural, once you accept that it's not you, it's just how your body works, and diabetes is a part of it. You mentioned soccer, like that's even tougher because you can't come out of the game. Like the substitutions are limited. So if you come out, you can't go back in. So how do you manage that? And also it's a lot longer. And, I think I don't know if we've had like we've had a goalie, I think, on, or a keeper on before.
Adding it to my producer list. I don't know
if we've had a striker or like a defender on this, somebody that's like running for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant. So yeah, we got to get somebody
intense. On. Absolutely, get there.
Jordan Morris, where you at, bro?
Come on the pod.
We'll make it happen.
Last thing with you is you went to Miami.
I did, yeah.
Why aren't you Tanner? But you just got back.
we were there for like one day. I didn't really spend that much time out by the pool, and that's okay. Erica got sunburned though, and it was just a quick little work trip for Erica.
I was gonna say she looks tan. You don't. I was just like, did you even go?
I look pretty normal. it was a last minute work thing, and I got to go be, we were talking about like being a creator and being the show. I got to be like undercover, and like she got to be the show. I got to be the support, which is typically, the opposite. And so that was fun for me to do. And I got to see her in her element and, hear some of her coworkers rave about her.
Zero surprises there.
Yeah, of course. So we had a good time, and Erica and I have been watching a lot of Below Deck, mostly Erica, and we got to go on a yacht charter cruise for a thing. So
fancy.
I was doing my bits about Below Deck, and I love Captain Lee.
Wow,
he's my guy.
You are one with the universe. That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool, and we got to travel a little bit and then come back. So it was like a really breakneck pace the last 2 weeks. And looking forward to actually having some time to work on my projects.
Any diabetes mishaps on your little Miami trip? Were you good?
No mishaps. I changed my site on, that was part of my like routine. Like it was time. I'm on my 7-day infusion set.
You lucky dog.
Oh, it's nice. It's really good.
I saw a study the other day that said that it actually improved people's mental health. I have to send you the link for it, but I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, please do send me that. Yeah. I 100% agree. It's amazing how, so, your typical site lasts 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
That's been my experience in the sites that I've been wearing my whole, time with diabetes. And just basically you're doubling that. Like it's a little bit more than double the time, but like just to remove one site change, like for every one site you change, you basically get 2. So it's like, but like 50%.
It's not more sensitive because like, okay, I'm someone who does 2 colors outside the lines. So sometimes I'll leave my site in for 5 days. Don't do this. I am not a doctor. But I'll do that. And so then when I take it off, like today, there's like a little bump there or it's like irritable. Like, is it? So
I don't think I did a 5-day, maybe once on like my other sites. But yes, of course, like, and I remember shout out my boy Scriven, OG Diabetics Doing Things contributor, my guy. He talked about that, like he could tell when his sites started to become like insulin resistant. That's how he would change them. That's how he would know to change them. And so I feel a little bit of that on like day 6 or 7, and where I'm like, okay, cool, it's like time to, I feel like I'm running like, a little bit higher, and it's like probably time. And there is a little irritation, but a lot of the work that they've done on the technology is to prevent that and to make them, because ultimately, like when you put a site in your body attacks it.
Yeah, it's a foreign object.
It's a foreign object, and it's like, well, it treats it like an infection, which is why it gets inflamed. So the longer they can keep it from breaking down, like the less inflamed it is. And I will say that I have had less or the same amount of inflammation that I would have from a site wearing it 2 or 3 days. And I have 100% sure, I am positive of this, had fewer sites fail or become occluded.
Wow.
And that's by a significant margin. Now, whether that's the new technology or like the pump break last year, like giving my sites time to heal, I don't know, but that's been what my experience is.
Well, lucky you. This is a perfect segue to telling you what my diabetes mishap was.
Can't wait.
I was at home and I had 3 sensors fail in one day. Ugh. So Dexcom, you change the sensor every 10 days. That's how it works. You keep the transmitter. That's the thing that you replace, right? So I put in one site and it failed during the warm-up. I was like, all right, cool. I have 2 more before I have to re-up on my script. Did the second one. It fails again during the warm-up, which is also annoying because like the warm-up is 2 hours. So these first like 15 minutes, like for it to fail, 15 minutes, we're like, now we wasted 35, 40 minutes. Like what the heck? So I was like, okay, I have 1 more. I went ahead and did the 3rd one. When I tell you that when it deployed, I felt like the thing not click all the way through. And I was just like, every curse word in my mind, I went online. So if that happens to you, you can go online and fill out the Dexcom request form and they will send you replacements. So like you're not SOL. But by the time it gets here, like it's been 4 days, man. So I'm sitting here living like it's 2010 for me and pricking my finger. And it just kind of gave me a lot of gratitude for not having to do that all the time. But it also made me very unhappy. I was not a happy gal. Like 3 failed sensors, but I got them all back to back and it was fine at the end of the day, but very annoying.
It's the worst thing, like when it fails. And I think like you're right, it gives you perspective because you remember like
we're spoiled.
Yeah, we are very lucky and fortunate. I think that is actually a principle of stoicism. Like Seneca talks about that. Every now and then you should live with like the minimum viable stuff. Like And in his example, he would like sleep on the floor and like only eat like vegetables, and like only drink water, and so like just to like and only wear like threadbare clothes,
A burlap
yeah,
sack.
burlap sack or something. It's like really like over the top, but like I think for me, something like this is like a little bit trivial, but like lately I've been not ordering delivery for things because it's expensive.
Me too. It's
and
expensive.
there's a lot of fees, and it's like it really isn't that big of a deal for me to get off my butt in my car and go pick something up.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to do that to just be a more conscious. And I think that is so much more of where I'm at today, is like I'm focused on being intentional and being conscious of what I'm doing and being an active participant in my own life.
Yeah.
And part of that has been through like tragedy, because losing friends and close loved ones and realizing that, oh man, like your life's not going to happen tomorrow. It's like happening right now. And
Yeah.
you are a part of it. And if you don't notice it, can go by really quickly, and you will regret the time that you were just spending doing bullshit rather than like what you wanted to do, whether that's like be a creator or in your relationships or anything like that. And so we were kind of talking about this before. Like I had dinner with friend of the pod, Eric Van Leeuwen. Shout out Eric. Just an all-time homie. And we were talking about this, and I was like, man, yeah, I used to have Twitter deleted off my phone. Like things were so much better. And I was like, oh, I should just delete this right now. And this is back in like December, I think we had dinner. And so it's been off my phone since then. And like from that day, I can just like chart my mental health increasing. It's just really funny. And I still like, I'm not uninformed. I know what's going on. And I just am doing these little things to help keep my, one, consistency, intention, awareness, noticing things, being more involved in my friends and family's life. And I don't know. I'm excited about that.
I love that we're talking about noticing things. I felt like the whole time that I had the mishap, I just had to pay way more attention to my body than I usually would have. Like I went to the gym with this like boo thing or whatever, and I did not have a Dexcom, right? So it's like following our little Eritrea goes on dates trend. But anyways, so I'd given him my glucometer to like put in his bag, 'cause I'm not gonna carry a duffel bag to the gym. I'm cute.
All right, so we had a little bit of a technical difficulty.
We'll edit it out.
But
I went to the gym.
You're doing hot girl stuff, so you don't carry gym bags.
Yes, I don't carry stuff. I'm cute. So I put all my stuff in his little duffel bag, which was like my glucometer and juice boxes and snacks or whatever. But we went to Lifetime, which is a fancy rich people gym.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I go to LA Fitness, girl. I'm poor. Anyways.
I used to be a Lifetime Dallas member.
Okay, fancy. Oh, this is nice. They got a juice bar. Shout out Paloma. She's the one who taught me what a Lifetime was. So when he was like,
I loved her Lifetime content.
When he was like, we're going to Lifetime, I was just like, oh, I'm in the Paloma ranks now. Anyways, we go, we're working out, whatever, we're doing weights, and then suddenly, because as you guys know, I'm hypo unaware. So the whole time I'm kind of like on the edge, and I'm like paying attention to my breaths, and I'm like, how do I feel? Like, am I low? Am I high? Am I just stressed? Am I just working out? Like, I basically am playing guess right now, right? So after a minute, I did start to feel like I was low, and I thought about it, and I was so nervous. Like, how do I tell this guy that I, not been seeing for that long? Like, hey man, can you go get your gym bag? Because I got to prick my finger the way your grandma would if she was needing her medication. Like, it's just so awkward, but he was so nice about it. And went to go get my stuff, sat down, tested my sugar, 84. I was so proud of myself for listening to my body and being like, I was right. And maybe I'm not low right this second, but I'd rather be, somewhere orbiting the low and treat it rather than let it go untreated and have a seizure on a date in a lifetime.
Oh, never.
I would have been on the news, man.
You're not coming back from that.
You would have seen Dallas woman. But anyways, yeah, it would have just been very embarrassing. And it's just a lot. So it's just a reminder to, yes, let the people that you are dating know what's going on with you.
I agree. First of all, yes, 100% agree. At the same time, just because you're using a glucometer doesn't mean that you're old school. Like, so you got to remember.
So lame. I don't know why.
You got to remember, like, I think a glucometer is nice, especially for somebody who doesn't know, because it doesn't seem as cool, and it's way more serious looking.
So, he's like, this is a big
your blood is like coming out of your finger, and you're like testing it, so it becomes like a little bit more of like a medical thing rather.
He did have a preoccupied look on his face, like, I was like,
yeah, so he's
worry about
concerned.
me, save me.
Yeah, so there you go. We talked about noticing. I'm reading this book right now called The Art of Noticing.
Okay.
It's this beautiful design.
It is very cute.
Erica and I found it in this awesome bookstore in Sweden when we were there for ATTD.
It's like small
or
flex.
ESD.
Yeah,
ESD. Sorry.
in
ESD.
Stockholm.
Whatever. But yeah, it's called The Art of Noticing, and it's these like it's like daily exercises. I've been doing it before I journal, just like reading one.
So you can notice things?
Yeah, it's like some of them are like actual tactical things, like look up and like, or like go to a museum and like only look at one thing.
Yeah.
And just look at it for an hour. And so it's just like
Man.
just a different way of like noticing things and looking at things, and it's helping me be a better husband, I think, and help me keep things more clean.
I think this is so much better than having, because like I was just thinking, I mean, the whole reason I'm thinking about the glucometer is because I was noticing the absence of a privilege that I have,
Sure.
which is having a CGM. So in life, as humans, I feel like we lean into gratitude when we notice absence of something.
Sure.
But this is just notice it because it's there, you know, like be grateful every day kind of vibe.
Exactly. It's very, very absolutely in my wheelhouse for sure.
Okay.
For sure in that wheelhouse. Like not very surprising, but a cool book to have on your desk. And it's by Rob Walker. So shout out Rob Walker. I don't know. It's been good.
That helps me with our last thing that we're kind of going to talk about, which is that I am a homeowner now. I feel like we haven't talked about it on the pod.
Damn.
I have not talked about it. I'm announcing it in the public. Like I own my property. Woo, real estate. But the point is that I'm just going to say it. That shit is expensive. It is expensive.
Yeah.
And I have diabetes. And it's expensive too.
Yeah, man.
So that's also why I was so upset about like my sensors not working. Because I was like, girl, how am I going to pay for this? I'm feeling the heat of being not a privileged person anymore, kind of. Because I feel like maybe everybody thinks that we do this pod, we're on the internet, like we're both people from supreme privilege and have all these things. And while I still do have a lot of that, my budget's a lot smaller now. I got to think about the things I'm going to spend my money on. I have to be intentional and I have to notice stuff. So this week I'm leaning into being grateful for my home instead of thinking so much about how I want to be in Mexico right now very badly. Or my brother just left for Guatemala this morning. I'm like, I want to be in Guatemala, man. Like I'm not trying to be here. So grateful, gratitude all the time. Ooh, it's hard.
It reminds me of a poem that I'm writing.
A haiku?
No, it's actually going to be an anthology. It's called Every Homeowner is a Farmer. Every homeowner is a farmer. And, you know, I was always roasting my landlords over the years and like how lazy they were and like all these like, you know, rigged up jobs they would do.
Man.
But here I am rigging stuff up on a regular basis. Like we've almost been in our house. It'll be 2 years this fall. And I'm not even going to share all the weird mice and like bugs and just weird, but like, you know, who else is going to do this? And it's like, oh, I'm the one that got to
Remember when you were the mosquito killer? Remember that?
Yeah, I do. The fly killer. I do remember
the fly
that.
killer.
I will say that I did think that was normal. I thought that was going to be like my life. That I was just going to be fighting flies. But luckily at the house that we own, there are not an absurd amount of flies. So good luck to
And if you
whoever's
missed
living
that
there.
era of Rob's content where he was like outside with bags of water,
some people
hanging them up.
say that it was the peak Rob era, that I peaked during the fly infestation of 2020.
I'll just never forget the guy who hated on you for it online. Like
yeah.
the one random comment.
The one
where
TikTok
the
comment.
guy was like,
why does this guy love killing flies? Like,
yeah, he's like,
fucking-
you're lame.
I was like, okay, bro, let me do my art. My art is killing flies. Like I remember every day, because it was the pandemic, so work from home. So 5 o'clock would hit, and you know the sun would be coming down, and be like, bing, just like time to go outside and check my fly traps. And I just like I had this great routine, and I was so much fun. And my aunts loved it for some reason. Like I'm not even super close with a ton of my like, you know, extended family. But they were like, would tell my mom, like, oh my God, I love Rob's fly content.
Practical advice for a homeowner. If you need help with flies.
Yeah. I mean, you know, homeowners, we'll get you right. We'll make sure you have the right tools. We'll make sure you have the right tools. And, you know,
I had to order like a little pink box set of tools so I could make, because like I didn't even have a screwdriver. Like, what an idiot.
You
like,
have brothers though. So you can like, if something dies in the wall, you can call them and they can come drag it out or something, you know. Texas, like, that's the thing people don't talk about enough, is that this is a wild place.
No. So the other day, this is the last thing we can say about it. Did I ever send you that picture of the huge lizard that my dog caught in my fireplace? Yeah, so I was in a diatribe meeting. I'm literally sitting there in the meeting, and suddenly my dog just like attacks Layla. She's a pit bull. She attacks this thing in the fireplace, and I literally did not have time to mute myself or turn the camera off. I just started screaming. I was like, stop, don't drop it. So she drops it. I will send you a picture. It is huge. It is massive. Texas is not safe.
Since we're sharing stories, I'll
tell me. Tell me your critter infestation
so
story.
Similar to your screaming. So we opened up the It's like a weekend. I'm cleaning. I'm like doing laundry, and I'm like loading my clothes in the washing machine. And Erica goes and lets the dogs out, and then all of a sudden I hear her like yelling, like panicked, like Rowan, no, no, no. And so I run out there. And I'm like, oh my god, what's happened? So there's this little hole in like one of the bricks that leads to the crawl space in our house that's just like there for ventilation, and this mouse had like come out of it, and it was a big mouse. And the dogs, like as it was coming out, the dogs went outside, and Rowan went to attack it, and it broke its back in the hole. So
Stop.
it was stuck. So we got Rowan inside. He like kind of scratched Rowan a little bit, so it was almost traumatic, but luckily like nobody was hurt except for the mouse.
Rowan don't play.
And yeah, Rowan don't play. He will kill.
Yes.
He'll kill. He's out for blood. And this mouse, like I couldn't, like wouldn't let me grab it to like pull it out. And
Man.
this is where the diabetes comes in. I can't believe I haven't shared this, but here we go. So I had no way to kill it. I was like, it came down to it, like I'm gonna have to kill this mouse. And I didn't want to like smash it in that hole, because then I have to like clean up the messy mess, and it's like a cute mouse, and it's like, this was like over the period of like a while. This is like, it ruined my day.
Okay.
And when I say ruined it, like my day was fine, but this is like I hated it.
It
So
sucked.
I had to come up with a way to kill this mouse in a humane way. So, well, what do I have on my disposal?
Did you give it insulin?
I did. And I had to give it 2 big doses because the first dose didn't work.
This is your viral moment.
It was terrible. I hated every minute of it. And then I had to kill the mouse afterwards because like it wasn't dead, but I could see it like getting sweaty and like shaking. I was like,
You gave it
you're
low blood sugar?
Yeah. And then I got it out. It was all fucked up. It was, pardon my language, it was just ugly. It was ugly. Every homeowner is a farmer.
I
Coming this fall.
breathe.
Coming this fall, I'm running this fall. I was like, because like this is farm stuff, man. Like we were in Texas, like there's giant spiders and mice and lizards in the chimney, and like it's just a weird place.
Did you know that if you catch something, I learned this at work because when this happened, obviously, like everyone at work was like, Eritrea is a crazy person, like she screams, whatever. My boss told me that if you catch something like feral, like a lizard or a mouse or something in California, it is the law. You have to kill it. You have to kill it. You cannot keep it. Like you have to murder that. So you follow the Californian law. I mean, if it's California law, it's got to be Texas law too.
I don't understand that. It sounds like something your boss might have just made up on the spot. But I'll tell you what, when this mouse had its broken back come sticking out of my house,
oh no,
I had no choice but to do the right thing, man. You know, I had to do the right thing. And like I had just seen Avatar: Way of Water, so I told him, I was like, I'm sorry, my brother, and I killed him.
Oh, why am I laughing?
I had to do, I respect nature. I love nature. You guys know that. I love nature.
Well, this is a great way for us to close out the show, because the last thing that I wanted to tell the listeners is that if you think you are existing on the internet, if you think you're just, posting things willy-nilly, Rob Howe will appear the way he appeared for that mouse, and he is a menace. So be careful in your comments, and if you're a mouse, don't live in Rob's house.
Professional commenter. So yeah, we were talking about like what
okay, so you disclosed something to some random commenter, and I peeped it. I'm not gonna tell you guys what it is. You'll just have to wait for a future episode. And I peeped it, and I was like, "Ooh, Rob, is this happening in your personal life?" And you were like, "Maybe." Remember? And you were like, "Oh yes." I try to make these great comments where I get 100 likes a week, and I was like, "What is wrong with you?"
I have a side mission. I don't know, like I need something else to do, but I love commenting, and because I have so many followers, my comments often appear as like top comments, like before you expand. So I'll just comment on stuff, and the stuff that I think is funny. And so my goal is to get a comment every week with over 100 likes. And so this week I hit 3 over 300. So I'm professional.
He came for that hat
professional
trick.
Commenter. Yeah, so if you see me commenting, just know that I'm here for the crown. You
should like his comment. Maybe he'll follow you back, and you can get him lurking in your comments. They're pretty funny. You come in clutch. You're a funny guy.
I don't know how to find. If you follow the accounts that I follow, you will see my comments.
I do see you.
I'm in there.
You're in the fashion accounts talking about things you love. But this has been great. I love this, and I hope that we continue to do it because we love to do it.
Yeah. Chop wood, carry water. We'll see you next month.
Absolutely. But don't forget to email us at mailbag@diabeticsdoingthings.com. We still want to get your questions, hear from you. It's been light in there, and I don't know.
I haven't been promoting it enough. We just got to get on our grind.
Yeah. Okay. Chop wood, carry water.
Rome wasn't built in a day. We'll make it happen.
See you guys in May. Bye.